So if you've been living under a rock or you don't participate in PvP as much, there's this thing in PvP called a meta, okay? And I've been memeing on it over the past couple of days. It's also to prove another point, and if you want more details on that, you just gotta read the description of the video, okay? But basically what the meta is the acronym. It stands for the most effective tactical advantage. What that means is, what can I put on my build to do as much of the work for me so I as the player don't have to do any of the work? So how much can I get out of my build with the minimum amount of effort that I can put into it? So that is what the meta is. And currently the meta for Necrom is very, very interesting, and I want to talk about it in this video, not only so you guys have a video that you can watch, but so you can understand why this meta is so strong, and at the same time understand why we got here, and, you know, just a health checkup on the game too, I guess. To start, we're going to talk about the sets that people are running for this meta, alright? This consists of 4 sets, 2 one pieces, and then you can either go for a sustain route or a damage route. The 4 sets that are the primary, well, listen, the primary part of the meta are the Master's Dual Wield. This increases each tick of your rending slashes by a considerable amount. The next thing that people run is they run the Veteschran's Ice Staff. The Ice Staff specifically because this procs Minor Brittle on the target, which increases their critical damage taken by 10%, which is yet another status effect, and that is important for our next set. But the proc from the Veteschran's Ice Staff deals damage as long as you are within 10 meters of your enemy and they're not line of sighting and breaking that tether. Basically, it just gives you more free damage. And the next set is Marsalok, okay? This set, either on a medium weave or like just medium weave or heavy attack, you proc this big fat damage over time, and this damage over time scales up very dramatically with the more negative effects a target has on them. And you can probably see where this is going from here. I'll explain all these things and how they work in conjunction if you still don't understand it in a minute. But the next set that people run in conjunction with all this is Sea Serpent's Coil. This gives you a bunch of free damage, and the only downside that there is to it is you get a 40% snare, which you can easily mitigate by putting on all Swift Jewelry and finding a source of expedition on your build. Yeah, this just gives you a lot of free damage. And in conjunction with this, people run one piece of the trainee. Normally it's the Gallant Chain because it's reinforced heavy on the chest. That gives you a 1 piece of maximum health. And then the next set that people run alongside that is called the Druid's Braid. This also gives you a 1 piece of max health. And if you've been keeping track of all the set pieces that we have put on, you will know that we still have a 5-piece set that we can put on. So from here, people go one of 2 ways. They either go for a very tanky setup, so they'll put something like Mara's Bomb on, which I do not need to explain this set, or they'll put something like His Sap on, another set I do not need to explain, or they'll run Dragon's Appetite. This is probably the most popular survivable set that you'll find people running, okay? Then you have the sustain route, which is self-explanatory, because, well, you already have your damage, you already have your survivability with the 1 piece of the Druid and the 1 piece of the trainee, and all you need now is your sustain. It really does depend, though, on the class that you're going to be doing this on to determine whether or not you're going to run a tanky setup or you're going to run a more sustain. But at the end of the day, I'd probably go for sustain, simply because not only is Wretched a crafted set, so you can really optimize the amount of power that you're getting out of your armor weights, but like I said, you already have your damage and your survivability, so all you are missing is your sustain. So that's why I would normally go Wretched. But all of these sets combined is what we currently refer to as the meta. And this is an extraordinarily strong setup because you have every single one of your PvP build bases covered: damage, sustain, and tankiness. The only problem with this setup is that gear farming for it can be quite difficult. That's not a problem for veteran players. It might be a bit of an issue for newer players because you do have to have all the DLCs to be able to get all these pieces to put them together. So I guess it is kind of pay to win in that aspect. But once you get everything put together, literally your grandma can play this spec and get like 4 million plus damage in a BG in 10 minutes, and it's incredible how easy this spec is to play, especially on Warden, because Warden by far is the strongest class to play this on. Warden, just the passives in this just go hand in hand. You get all your sustain from Warden, you get plenty of damage from Warden, and you have a very, very survivable setup with stacking max health and using Polar Wind and a bunch of other heal over times. Plus you have the Netch, which gives you a cleanse. So yeah, you are just a unit on Warden, and that's why. Listen, I played all the classes. Warden is the strongest with this setup by far, okay? And for those of you who still don't understand why this is extraordinarily strong, let me take you on a history lesson, okay? We had two really bad proc metas. The first one was the Markarth meta, which was Balorg, Malakaths, and Devate 2H with Eternal Vigor and Endurance. Listen, the more relevant one is the Blackwood meta. That was where you could get 2 direct damage procs to go off at the same time if you had them. 3 because you had Devate 2H, okay? Basically, in that time period, you'd have people running around on Sorcerer with Ashen Grip, Deadlands Assassin, and the Vate 2H, and yeah, you just have people getting absolutely domed and one-shotted because all 3 of those direct damage procs would go off at the same time, and it was extraordinarily strong, okay? But that got nerfed, and now there's a 1-second cooldown between the direct damage procs going off, unless they're telegraphed or something, and now, we are in this meta, which is essentially the same exact thing, but damage over time procs. We are stacking 3 damage over time procs, and damage over time right now is incredibly strong, okay, because what damage over time is, well, it's damage over time. The reason it's strong is because you put it on a target and then you can just walk away and then they will die. Okay, so imagine you put all 3 of these procs on somebody and they're on a sorcerer and they streak away from you. Now they're 45 meters away from you, but they are still taking damage from all of your proc sets and they cannot heal out of it because it's so much consistent pressure and all you did was press 3 buttons. Okay, and those dots, they are stuck to the target. He's gonna die, okay? And this meta is probably the worst proc meta that we've been in because at least in the other proc meta in Blackwood, you could block all of those direct damage procs at the exact same time and take almost no damage from it because you just held block for like half a second, okay? And also you had to line up a combo with that because some people would still not die from all of those procs going off at the exact same time, so you put some extra pressure on them like Crystal Weapon and Curse, and then they might actually end up dying if you timed it properly, but you know, now you don't even need to time it up because all you do is press 3 buttons and do a heavy attack, and now your target is dotted up and you cannot dodge or block damage over times, and the only way to get rid of these damage over times or survive them is to either have an insanely strong healing kit or have access to a purge. And right now, there's far less counterplay for this meta than there was for the Blackwood meta because, like I said, the only ways to survive are either to have enough healing or have a purge on your build. And literally anyone can play a spec like this. All you have to do is make sure you press 3 buttons and do a heavy attack, and then your target will just have dots on them, okay? And then it's theirs to deal with. Unlike in the Blackwood meta where you actually had to make sure that things would line up and that way they could actually land. You don't have to do that anymore with these. They just tick. Even if your opponent breaks line of sight with you, they're still taking damage from your proc sets, and that is why it is worse than what we had in Blackwood right now, okay? I think as far as solutions go, personally, I'd say we need to Modern Warfare 2-atize this game. Basically, what that means is everything needs to be viable and very strong when it comes to offense. So I think we should bring back the Blackwood proc meta so every proc set can go off at the exact same time if you run enough of them, and at the same time, they should still be able to crit and... well, yeah, that's at least what I think, because healing is so strong right now, I don't even think if you brought that back that it would make much of a difference in people's ability to survive. And we definitely do not need to go down the road of making it so only 1 dot proc can tick on a target at a time. So, like, imagine only the Master's Dual Wield dot can be procking on your target. No, that should not be the road we take, because then people will become literally unkillable. So, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this. How do you think ZeniMax should fix this? Like I said, honestly, I think we need to take the Modern Warfare 2 road, but I'm curious to see what you guys think should happen about this. It could stay the same. I mean, it is manageable. There's a lot of sets coming out and stuff that are just kind of accessibility, but like this just contributes to the ESO meta snowball where things just progressively get worse as patches go on because the balance is so out of whack. ZeniMax is like, okay, we're going to create a problem, and then we're going to try and fix the problem with another meta set, and that meta set is going to create a problem, so then we're going to add something to try and fix that problem, and it just keeps going back and forth, and that's just where we are today. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think should be done about this, and I just wanted to let you guys understand why this meta is so strong at the moment, and also so you guys can have a video so I could be a little bit more consistent about my uploads. And yeah, and one final thing before we close, I have a channel members. Y'all can join and you get some pretty cool perks and stuff. You can click the join button under the video if you want to join. And also I have a Patreon. That's optional if you want to support me and go a little further. It's very much appreciated. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching this video, and have a good night.